Some critics argue that Tennessee Williams was a misogynist. They believe that he portrayed Blanche in an ugly manner, as no more than a typical tart who brought about her own fate by drinking excessively, lying, and being a self-absorbed narcissist. And I do not agree with those critics at all, because Williams' sympathy for Blanche's character was apparent throughout the entire play. He portrays her in a tragic light and puts more blame on the society for the destruction of Blanche DuBois than on her actual self. One critic says that Tennessee Williams dehumanizes Blanche, undercuts her tragic situation, and renders her a maddened hysteric with no place in a well-ordered society. And she doesn't feel that Blanche DuBois was written to be a tragic hero, but that Tennessee Williams wrote her character to project the vices of women in a moral society. Blanche DuBois' character is promiscuous. She drinks excessively. She's loud and she's self-absorbed. All these qualities are traditionally seen as vices for women, especially in that time period. But Williams does an excellent job of showing that society is not well-ordered and is to blame for her downfall. Blanche's character seems to want to be very traditional. She wants to project that Southern belle. She wants to be married. She wants to be happy. And it's all kind of like this facade. She's really disillusioned about her life. She's not in touch with reality. The society around her is changing so rapidly. Alcohol, sex, homosexuality, violence, and other immoral ways of life are starting to become way more prevalent in this society. And it could be argued that Blanche DuBois' downfall starts with the death of her young homosexual husband. This is what sets the tragedy in motion. This is the moment when that harsh society overpowers her. I think that Williams wouldn't have included all of Blanche's heartbreak over her young husband's demise if he were trying to portray her as being responsible for his death or like a villain. Blanche is the reason she is the way she is because of her husband's death. She loved him very much. She makes references to it all the time. You could tell that she's suffering from some sort of clinical depression because of that. And that's how he's providing that sympathy for that character, you know, all these outbursts and these tears, and you feel for her. The tragic hero has a character flaw that leads to their downfall, and it could be argued that Blanche's character flaw is in the vices of her society, but she also does have that excessive pride. She lies, she's very self-absorbed. Her narcissism keeps her from being honest and keeps her in that state of delusion. She's really unstable throughout the entire play. She's psychologically disturbed, which is not all due to her character flaw, but to the tragedies that keep ensuing around her. But the audience feels sympathy for her. We want to see her succeed, but her ultimate failure to have any sort of redemption makes us feel immense pity for her. She's completely detached from reality, and to have Blanche be a true tragic hero, her downfall must outweigh her flaws, and I feel as though Blanche's rape really makes this story a tragedy and makes her the tragic hero. You sympathize for her, and you know that she wasn't her punishment was not wholly deserved. The rape scene had a completely different tone. It was very dark imagery used by Tennessee Williams, so that further proves that he wrote the scene to invoke pity, and he wrote it in a tragic light. You could feel the sympathy for Blanche. Also, Blanche was an educated woman. She respected literature, art, all the finer things in life, and she really lost her sanity by the end of the play, which means she lost everything. She is reduced to nothing by the end. Her continuous lying and her excessive pride were to keep her somewhat happy, you know? That's like the only thing, that disillusionment, that detachment from reality was just to keep her like somewhat sane, happy, keep her going. By the end of it, she just lost everything. And that really outweighs her flaws. But another reason why she is a hero is because Blanche she's been through tragedy after tragedy, and she continues to carry on. By the end of the play, she's escorted to an asylum, so there's a redemption there. She's seeking help. The audience may feel like it's a little too late because she's already had all these horrible things happen to her, but she she stood up to Mitch and told him the truth, even though she knew that that would end the marriage. She knew that that would, like, ruin everything. That little bit of redemption she could have gotten, she didn't care. He was belittling her, so she stood up to him, just like she stood up to Stanley. She was very vocal with Stanley, and that made him disdain her even more. She put herself in a dangerous position by being vocal and brave, and in my eyes, it's very heroic. But the downfall is not a complete loss because, like I said, she's going to the doctor, she's getting help, so the audience is able to have that emotional release, and we sympathize for her, but we're not completely depressed by the end of it. I mean, she didn't die, she's going to get help, and so it ends well. Blanche DuBois displays all of the characteristics of a tragic heroine. She comes from a stature of wealth and status. She's not perfect, but she shows her character flaws, such as excessive pride. Her downfall is due to her imperfections, such as her lies and self-absorption, but incites an excessive amount of pity from the audience because it's not wholly deserved. Her character also gains some sort of self-knowledge toward the end of the play, so that the downfall is not a complete loss. When I read A Streetcar Named Desire, I automatically thought of Blanche DuBois as a tragic heroine, and it may be because I was reading a lot of Shakespeare and I was in that zone of thinking, but the more I researched it, the more I feel as though Tennessee Williams wanted her to be that tragic figure. He painted her to be that tragic figure. She was happy, and she had her youth, she had a young, handsome husband, she had status, and she fell from that glorified state, and her downfall was almost, it seemed, fated. With each new scene, things just got worse for her character, and it was easy to see where she was headed, and I sympathized with her, and I think everyone did. I would definitely say that Tennessee Williams painted her out to be a tragic hero, and I think that it's really easy to see that he had A Streetcar Named Desire. He had tragedy in his mind. I think that's what he was going for. He definitely wanted it to be a tragedy.